My brain went in two directions then. The first question that popped into my head was about the role oxytocin's playing in all of that, because I've heard about this chemical called oxytocin, which is there to help us bond, etc. And I remember Simon Sinek saying to me that when like cities have earthquakes, it's crazy how much the city comes together. And he pointed at oxytocin as much of the reason for that sort of shared struggle. I was thinking about your rickety bridge scenario. Life sometimes becomes a rickety bridge and people bond because of that. So should I be taking my dates to theme parks, for example, to terrify the shit out of them or watching?
Only if you're equally terrified.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important, right? For you to figure out like what is something that is going to give us a shared emotional experience.
Okay, so we've got to both have the same emotion.
Absolutely.
So if I'm not scared by it and she's terrified,
then that's generally speaking not good. Now there are other versions of that. So like you can demonstrate caring, right? So if I'm terrified and you take care of me, then that can feel good in a different way. But generally speaking, like what gets us like, I'm into this person is that we feel an emotional connection, right? That's what I'm like into this person. They're like what is the nature? The emotional connection is shared emotion. So oxytocin is another phase of the relationship. So oxytocin forms emotional bonds. So when we feel like not this, and this is what's so interesting, there's different parts of the brain, different neurotransmitters. So oxytocin is what we get from cuddling, what we get from different kinds of touch. Something like a massage can form oxytocin, hugging, holding hands, all this kind of stuff triggers oxytocin. And oxytocin will form an emotional bond, will alleviate feelings of loneliness. I think one of the reasons that men are so lonely now is because we don't feel bonded to each other. So oxytocin is more about forming emotional bonds.
And the other way my brain went when we were talking about that is a question I've asked a lot of sex therapists I've spoken to, which is, should we be scheduling sex? This is such a tangent from where we started, but based on what you said, Thursday night, date night, etc., should we be scheduling sex? When I ask sex experts this, they go in two different directions. One group says yes, one group is so passionately saying no, because it kills that spontaneity, they say, and that, you know.
Right, so I think this is a good example of like, this is exactly what I'm talking about, where we know so much more about physiology and neuroscience now that the right answer to that question depends on the science. So you can schedule sex, it's just make sure that you do the things. Are you killing some degree of spontaneity? Potentially. But at the same time, like, so what is it about the spontaneity? Like, let's tunnel down. I think this is exactly what we need to do. What is it that makes spontaneous sex fun, Stephen?
Oh, gosh. Fuck. What makes spontaneous sex fun? It is exciting, novel. It is...
Hold on. Who's excited by spontaneous sex?
Me.